The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/247 and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 plus and present in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, permitted parishes only, Massachusetts, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700, or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia, or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York, or visit oasas.ny.gov/gambling. Standard text messaging rates apply. Sports betting is void in Georgia, Hawaii, Utah, and other states where prohibited.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.
Hello everyone, and welcome in here to the Friday Walkthrough. I'm Carmody alongside Monte Spiller. Kansas State gets a win in impressive fashion, 41-3 over TCU, and now they get set for the Houston Cougars on homecoming. We'll talk about that and much more on the show, but before we get going, we want to let you know we are sponsored by Booth Creek Wagyu. Remember to elevate your tailgate this season with our friends from Booth Creek Wagyu. The ranch is located just north of Manhattan and proudly raises authentic Wagyu beef from farm to table. Visit their retail locations in Manhattan and Overland Park or online at boothcreekwagyu.com. Monty, I don't even know where to start. That was an incredible game. A night game. The atmosphere was amazing. First home game in a month. Being down on the field at pregame, it felt like one of the biggest games of Chris Klieman's tenure. Like, the energy in that stadium was incredible. And, man, the players did not disappoint.
You know, I got to say that probably was one of the more fun games I've had. I was relaxed. I wasn't nervous. We came out like firing on all cylinders. I got to say, I don't know whose idea it was, if it was Coach Klieman's or if it was Coach Klein's idea to play both quarterbacks and then run a jet sweep to Avery. That was just perfect. So nobody could complain about we should have started Avery, we should have started Will. That was a perfect play call. I loved it.
Well, I'm happy you started there because that's exactly where I wanted to start. Let's just talk about the quarterbacks. I mean, that's obviously everything that everyone wants to talk about, but it is interesting. On the TV broadcast, they said before they ran out there that both quarterbacks would be on the field to start the game. I think Klieman might have told them pregame, like, "Hey, this is gonna happen." And sure enough, there's Avery Johnson lining up at receiver. There's Will Howard lining up at quarterback. I think it was kind of symbolic. And they asked Colin Klein about it on Thursday at his press conference, like, whose idea was that? And Colin just kind of chuckled and laughed and was like, it's been in the playbook for a while. Right. But, I mean, it's kind of symbolic for where these guys are right now. I thought that was a really cool gesture.
It was. And it's one of those things that kind of like, you know, if you've been part of a team, I've been part of a team. And inside the locker rooms, you know, the outside noise wants to say, hey, this is what's going on. And people want to assume what's going on. But that right there showed me that this group is together. There's nobody jealous of anybody. You know what? If Will isn't a quarterback and I'm Avery, I'm supporting him. And if Avery is in a quarterback and I'm Will, I'm supporting him. And you can tell that these guys genuinely get along. And the coaching staff has done a great job of keeping the team together and not divided based on who's playing and who's not. And the fact that we're winning, it makes everything so much easier.
And the best part about that is neither one of those guys are complacent.
Yes.
Because both of them want to be on the field. We got a chance to talk to them both after the game. If you ask them, they'll both tell you, I want to take all the snaps.
Yeah.
But I also want to do what's best for the team. And if that means that Avery gets a series, if that means that Will gets a series, then that's what those guys want to do. I thought it was very, very interesting how they handled those guys. It felt like once the game was in control, they were like, all right, we're just going to split it up, and it's almost like a tryout. You know, Will, let's see what you got. Avery, let's see what you got. And, you know, we'll talk about those quarterbacks as we get going. I thought that, honestly, both of them were extremely good.
They were. And it's kind of funny because the two previous games, we came to expect certain things from Avery and we came to expect certain things from Will. But in my opinion, the roles were kind of reversed. Will was the more dynamic runner this game. Not saying that Avery didn't do a great job running, because he did. He was like an ankle tackle away from breaking a couple of runs.
Multiple times.
Yes, several times. But then everybody got the opportunity to see how good Avery can throw the ball, and he was dropping some dimes.
Yeah, that was impressive.
He looked good.
Those balls that he threw to Jace Brown,
Yes.
I mean, those are high-level throws.
Absolutely.
I mean, you don't see that at the college level too often. I'm sitting in the press box next to a scout from an NFL team, and I just turn to him and shake my head, and he said an 18-year-old should not be able to make that throw.
Right.
Those deep balls to Jace Brown were impressive. I thought what was most impressive about both Will and Avery's game was their just ability to control the offense. You look at it, K-State only had to punt one time in that game.
Right.
They scored on every single drive in the opening half except for one.
Yep.
It was a fourth down that they ultimately didn't convert, but the offense was efficient. And my 343 yards rushing, you got to give your flowers to the offensive line.
Absolutely. The O-line came ready to play. There was no questions about would they show up. They were attacking downfield. When we passed the ball, they gave the quarterbacks plenty of time to get rid of the ball and make their reads. O-line definitely, as a group, probably played the best game of the year. And with that being said, I want to go back to the previous our previous podcast. DJ Giddens was my guy, picks, and he did not disappoint. He, whenever he got the ball, he was hitting the creases and going. And in the passing game, he looked just as good. So everybody looked good. And our guy Senate got a little banged up, but that gave other guys opportunities to step up as well.
I thought it was interesting. Garrett Oakley, Ben Sennett's replacement, came in, had a big-time third down conversion. He ran some routes that you're like, oh, this kid might have something. I think the future at the tight end position is set for K-State. Good news for Ben Sennett. It does sound like he is going to play on Saturday.
Good to hear.
So he should be back out there on the field. But, yeah, it was just an impressive day for the offense. And I think what was so fun to watch about that offense is you didn't know what was coming next. Right? With the whole quarterback thing, you're like, all right, let's see what Avery can do. Okay, let's see what Will can do. And they both had impressive showings. But you mentioned DJ Giddens. I want to go back to the touchdown pass from Will Howard. And Will said after the game that was the easiest touchdown pass he's ever thrown in his entire life, and he wasn't even being hyperbolic in that sense.
Right.
It was an easy throw. And Colin Klein was asked about it on Thursday. He said, well, it looked like TCU kind of messed up on their communication. The cornerback went with the tight end instead of, taking DJ, and the linebacker took DJ kind of and didn't take the tight end.
Right.
And so when he threw the swinger out, it was wide open, and it was impressive.
It was, and he made the right read, and DJ was in a great position. And the backer, he took DJ late. He took a bad angle, and I'm sorry, at this day and age, you take a bad angle against these running backs, no matter who you're playing against, he gonna get gone, and he did. And once he hit that corner and the linebacker took the angle, I knew it was over. He housed it, and he was having fun. The guys were going crazy. They looked comfortable, and I think we could have put up a lot more points if we really wanted to. But it was a well-played game.
And how about the touchdown pass from Will Howard to Will Swanson at the end of the game, too? The way those guys celebrated with Will Swanson told me all I needed to know about that locker room. That was impressive. You see the referee mark him short. He puts his hand up, and he's short. And then they review it, and he scores a touchdown, and everybody goes crazy for Will Swanson. That's a guy who does all the dirty work. And so you could tell Colin Klein wanted to get him a touchdown. But, I mean, they were having fun on Saturday, and the offense was rolling.
They were, and it's one of those things where we're getting healthy at the right time. We're figuring each other out on both sides of the ball, communicating well, playing confident, and you can tell that we're confident because Coach Klein his play calls, like you said, you didn't know what he was going to call, but when he called a play, it was working. And it wasn't, we were going back to the same old where we were like, oh, this is reliable. Maybe we should go here. It was wide open. We were having fun. And the thing about it, several different guys touched the ball and made plays when they had the opportunity.
And how about the tackle over formation? I don't know if you caught that. Multiple plays with the right tackle coming over on the left side.
Yep.
I think we might see some more of that. I think Colin Klein really liked that formation, really pound the rock, especially against the Cougars. We'll talk about that. But we got to flip it over to your favorite side of the ball, and that's the defense.
Thanks, Maul, baby.
K-State allows 0 touchdowns in this game against a team who scored 44 points the previous week. I mean, that defensive effort, there's really not much to say besides the fact that they were dominant.
They were, and I'm going to fast forward a little bit too. We can come back to early in the game. But towards the end of the game, TCU was driving, and K-State, the guys that were in for K-State, the backups were not letting it happen because any guy knows that you play defense. If you're a backup and you allow a team to score, you're going to hear it from the starters and the coaches next week. So they had a pride about themselves. We're not letting these guys score, and they didn't. And you can tell how those guys kind of both their neck. They were ready to ball, and they made a play when it needed to be done. And that gives me more confidence in the young guys as well in pressure situations where they can come up and make big plays also. But the defense played phenomenal the whole game.
And I want to talk about that while you're on that point. There was a penalty that happened at the end of the game. Jordan Wright did the thumbs down. Yeah, he did the thumbs down. And you know what? I like that. That is a guy that has confidence. He's playing with some swagger. I'm sure he probably heard about it on the sideline. Right. But for a backup to come in and be like, you know what? No, you're not catching that ball on me. I don't care who you are. That just kind of that's the mentality of the defense right now. We said the secondary was going to improve. And Monty, I'll be honest. I think right now that might be the strong suit of this team.
They're flying around, man. I tell you what, the depth is there. We're healthy, like I said before. There's confidence, and guys are flying to the ball, hitting you in the mouth, breaking on balls. If you're going to try to run a slant route, Parrish is jamming you on the line, and he's not letting you get the ball. It's confident defense. We're communicating well. And like you said, the secondary is playing like a secondary of old from last year.
Yeah.
A bunch of veteran guys that no matter what you throw at them, they're going to adjust and make plays. And that game this past Saturday let me know that we're going to be okay.
Shout out the Sunflower League. Jacob Parrish, starting corner, Olathe North High School. Keenan Garber, starting corner, Lawrence Free State High School. I mean, there is some serious talent in the state of Kansas. You throw in the fact Des Purnell, who we've talked about at length on this show, second leading tackler behind Parrish in that game. It's pretty cool. And as the high school playoffs get rolling here in Kansas, it's cool to see all these Kansas kids making an impact. But I look at Keenan Garber right now, and Will Lee was healthy enough to play in this game, and he played. Will Lee's going to be even healthier this week. But I think Keenan Garber is going to get the start. He is playing at a really high level right now.
I agree. I think he earned the start. Yeah. He should start. And I get it. You know, Will Lee went out due to injury, and that's sometimes it happens. But Garber, he's another big body, confident. The guy can fly, and he complements Parrish well on the other side. So I think he's earned it. And obviously, Will come in and get his snaps as well. But, yeah, get a kid a chance. He's young. And like I said, if you're winning, win with youth, and like until our other guy gets 100% healthy, and then we can figure out. And who knows, a lot of times injuries happen, and you have to put another guy in a different situation. Who knows? He might be an inside guy. He might become a safety. I've seen he's big enough corner to transition to a safety, so he can do both. You never know. But I think Garber earned the start.
He has, and you got to remember this is his. He hasn't even been at corner for a year. For a full year.
From receiver.
He's been dynamic. Another guy that was dynamic, Jake Clifton, stepping in at the mic. Austin Romaine was suited up. He warmed up. I would imagine he would have played if they would have needed him. But Jake Clifton was awesome in the middle, being that communicator. They asked him after the game, hey, what's your favorite spot? And he said, I don't care where I play. I just want to play.
Right.
And he is a freaking gamer. He gets after it. He got after it on Saturday. The linebacking core without Daniel Green, I think, is exceeding expectations.
Oh, absolutely.
And they are playing, again, it's just such an extraordinarily high level.
Yeah. And one thing, and you and I, we follow the Big 12, obviously, and the listeners and watchers as well. But one thing I'm loving about K-State, like I said before, we're peaking at the right time. We're getting healthy at the right time. If you look at the other top 5 or 6 teams in the Big 12, they have injuries going on. And like at specific positions where to make a run, they're going to need certain guys to step up. Our guys are healthy now, and we have 2 and 3 guys at the same position that can step in at any time and make plays. We're setting up to make a run.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I look at what this defense was able to do in the tackling department.
Yeah.
I mean, that was something that Chris Kleiman said after the game. We just tackled better.
Solid.
It's amazing what happens when you make the routine tackles. You know what? I'm going to go back and use a baseball reference. When you make the routine plays in baseball, you're going to win the game. Well, when you make the routine tackles, when you wrap up and take a guy down to the ground and he gets 3 yards instead of 6 yards, that adds up. And K-State right now is turning into a very good fundamental defense, very few penalties. And they just do the little things right. And how many times do we see this? A Joe Klanderman defense gets better and better throughout the season. It should come as no surprise at this point.
Yeah, and each year, we as fans, what have you done for me lately? And we want a success from the previous year right away. And once we have a lag, people are like, I don't know if Klanderman's the guy. We need to make adjustments. Something needs to change. And then all of a sudden, that lynch mob defense comes up, and we get better and better. And one thing about it, too, the last 2 games, both quarterbacks, actually all 3 quarterbacks we played for 2 different games, they have not allowed them to get comfortable. I have not seen a quarterback sit in the pocket, go through their progressions, and be able to make a play. Every time they make a play, either they're on the run, rolling the pocket, or getting the ball out quick. Our defense has not allowed a quarterback to get comfortable the last 2 games, and I hope that trend continues come Saturday.
And we'll talk about that game against the Houston Cougars. That's going to be a big key for Kansas State against Houston, is keeping the quarterback under pressure the whole entire time. We'll talk about that game and much more when we come back right here on the Friday Walkthrough.
Selling a little or a lot? Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage, to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's here to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. From their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system, wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout. 15% better on average compared to other leading commerce platforms. And sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the US. And Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's award-winning 24/7 help is there to support your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/Odyssey Podcast.
Welcome back in here to the Friday Walkthrough. I'm Cole Carmody alongside Monte Spiller. We are sponsored by Booth Creek Wagyu. Make sure you stop in whenever you're in town to Booth Creek Wagyu and get you some beef. Monte, let's talk about this game. Kansas State versus Houston. Houston is 3-4. Before we get into the offense and the defensive side of things, I want to look at the intangibles for Houston, because you look at their last 2 games and it has been one heck of a roller coaster. They win on a Hail Mary against West Virginia when they should have won before that.
Right.
They gave up a last-second touchdown with 12 seconds left, and then Donovan Smith throws the ball 50 yards down the field. They catch it. They win their first Big 12 win. That's a big win for them. Dana Holgorsen beat his former team. Big deal for the Cougars. Well, then they get Texas. They fall behind 21-0. They claw back, tie the game, lose the game eventually in the fourth quarter. Questionable spot call. People have talked a lot about that this week.
Yep.
But how do they respond? Those are 2 completely different emotional highs. Now they have to leave the state of Texas for the first time, and they've only left the city of Houston 1 time prior to this game.
Yeah.
Brand new things. The intangibles seem to be lining up for K-State, but maybe, just maybe, Houston might find a way to right the ship. But it's interesting how this is all setting up.
Yeah, it's a lot of variables going into this game. For me, first of all, it's still hard for me to say Dana Holgorsen and not think about West Virginia football for so many years. He has success there, in the Big 12. And obviously he's the head coach of Houston. But yeah, you're correct. They haven't left the state of Texas or the city of Houston for that matter. And a lot of things going into it. And Coach Holgorsen knows he's been around the Big 12 long enough. He understands Manhattan. He understands Little Apple. He understands our fan base. He knows what those guys are coming into. He's not a new coach in the Big 12, not knowing what's going on. But on the flip side, he can tell his players, this is what's going to be like. but until they experience it themselves, they don't know.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things with the weather here. It could be potentially raining, 11 o'clock game. K-State understands what's at hand to continue to work towards the top of the Big 12 again. But I don't know if Houston will truly understand the significance of this game until later in the second quarter or until after the first quarter, after they got an opportunity to see what it's like to be here in Manhattan. But I'm excited.
And I want to ask you this question, being from Texas,
Right.
because there are guys on Houston. Sure, a lot of these guys are experienced college football players. They've come from different places. They've played. But when you spend so much time in an environment that is, let's just be honest, hot. Like, this is not Dallas. No. The difference between Houston and Dallas, people don't realize there is a long distance between Dallas and Houston.
Yes.
It's like being in a different state, when you look at what the weather is like. That team traveling up to Manhattan, it's going to be low 40s. It's going to be rainy. Like we mentioned, they haven't been outside of the state. Even if you've played in it before, there's going to be an adjustment period, is there not?
It is. It's going to be. It's not going to be as cold as it could be, obviously, but it's going to be a little cooler than they used to. And then the weather, the rain could play a factor as well. Like you said, Houston is a lot more humid than the Dallas area. So even me as a kid growing up in Dallas, whenever we would travel to Houston for certain things, I would complain about the humidity like instantly, like this is crazy. But a lot of those guys aren't used to that. I will say also too, with them coming over from a different conference, they're not used to the weekly grind of the Big 12 and the Big 12 fan bases. So I think it's going to be a little different. The pace of the game, it's going to be a lot more physical than what they've seen. Not saying Texas isn't physical, but the Texas team they played wasn't the Texas team we saw the previous weeks. I'm sorry. Texas is a lot better than what they showed, but it's going to be interesting to see how they respond.
Well, let's dig into this Houston team a little bit. We'll start with their offense. At quarterback is Donovan Smith. This is a guy who came from Texas Tech. He played a little bit against K-State 2 years ago, started in Manhattan last year. He's no stranger here. You look at his numbers, and they're really good, folks. 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's second in the conference in passing. At Texas Tech, he was more of a runner. This year, he hasn't really done that. But that should come as no surprise because Texas Tech is averaging 3.7 yards per rush as a team this year, and they've only ran for 818 yards. K-State ran for 343 last week in comparison. They have the 106th rush offense in the country. We talked about the elements. It's going to be rainy, most likely. They're going to have to try and run the ball, but when you got a guy like Donovan Smith, I'm not sure if they're going to deviate from that game plan that much. I see them trying to pass this.
Yeah, they're gonna have to do a little bit of both for several reasons. With the weather, they can't throw the ball all the time, and also with the way K-State has been scoring. If we continue to score like we do, they can't try to slow the game down like I would anticipate them to try to do, especially with potential weather hazards. They want to keep the game close as much as possible on the road. But, yeah, you still have to pass the ball no matter what to open up the run, and vice versa. You have to run the ball to open up the pass. With him not being a prolific passer, not saying he's a bad passer, but a prolific passer, I can see him trying to use his legs with the quarterback run game, a little bit of option, quarterback draw, boots, who knows. But I can see Coach Hogerson moving the pocket, showing different formations to try to get our guys off balance. But it'd be interesting to see what the game plan is coming in on Saturday for Houston.
I think that this is probably the best quarterback seen since Brady Cook of Missouri.
I agree.
He's not a great quarterback by any stretch of the imagination, but I would say he's definitely upper level of the Big 12. He's a great athlete, 245 pounds, a big guy. He likes to throw the short routes. He's a lot of slant routes, a lot of rub routes, a lot of swing routes. He's probably not going to try and throw the ball and push the ball down the field, but this is a true air raid offense. They will go fast. They will throw the ball a lot. So the D-backs are going to be tested for K-State, and so that's where we talked about Keenan Garber in the first half. Well, they're going to need Garber. They're going to need Lee. They're going to need Parrish, and they might even need a fourth guy to come in there and play some corner just so they can keep those guys fresh. It's going to be interesting to see because there's a lot of different variables for K-State on this defense, and you know what? It's almost a good thing that some of those guys miss some time because they're going to be called upon.
Yeah, absolutely. Our secondary will be challenged. I'm glad they're playing well right now because the confidence is high. But one thing a lot of people don't think about, the back end and secondary, the safeties in the corners are great, but I want to go back to the linebackers. Desmond Purnell can run with pretty much any player on the field unless it's just like an outside slot guy. Outside wide receiver that can just totally fly. You can eliminate a slot guy or a tight end that cause problems deep with the vertical by having an athletic Desmond Purnell on the field. And also you can go bracket on the backside to cover up some holes that may be potentially threatening. But I'm not concerned about K-State, but I am interested to see how they respond against a different type of passing game.
And I look at this Houston offensive line, and I see a spot where K-State can expose the Houston offense, because you go back and you look at the tape of this offensive line, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, but they are just not very good.
No.
And they're not as good as these teams that K-State's played. And you know what? I'm sure Kleinerman and Kleiman are looking at the tape going, these guys are probably, if you were to compare the teams that they've played, the offensive lines, you know what? They might be the second worst, right, by SEMO. I would argue that, Troy's offensive line is better than them. So this is going to be a game where K-State can get after the quarterback. I could see K-State trying to bring some zone blitzes.
Yeah.
Because if they are ahead by, some points, we'll talk about the offense here in a little bit, it wouldn't be a bad idea to say, okay, we're not going to get beat over the top, but we're going to mix in some zone blitzes. We're going to bring in Austin Romaine, who will be back this week. We're going to bring a Jake Clifton in on a blitz, and we're going to get to the quarterback and make him gun shy. Because whenever Hoover was gun shy last week against TCU, he made mistakes. If they can get Donovan Smith gun shy, it's gonna be a long day for Houston.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, and I can see K-State bringing pressure from the zone or man blitz for that matter. But I can also see Houston knowing that our O-line is not comparable to K-State's D-line and scheme and system. So I can see them actually bringing in the H-back to go max protection, give a little more time for the quarterback, or tight end, or additional fullback, to help out in the backfield, to give him time to get his reads. And only thing about that is that eliminates 4-man routes. That brings you down to 3-man routes, and maybe the H-back or the fullback out of the backfield late on a check down. But if they're running check downs, K-State's fine with that. Make them dink and dunk us and beat us. And I don't know if Houston has the patience to do that.
No, I agree with that. And, I like to highlight some players on the opposite team. Got to watch. Talked about Donovan Smith. From the receiver aspect, there's one guy, K-State fans, it'll be hard to miss. Joseph Manjack. He's number 0. So anytime somebody wears number 0, he's hard to miss. But he doesn't wear gloves. He doesn't wear sleeves. He doesn't wear anything. He looks like he's straight out of the 1970s. So if you see a guy running around out there that looks like he shouldn't be there because he doesn't have any gloves on, that's Joseph Manjack. But he's been really good for Houston. He's their second leading wideout, USC transfer. That's a guy that K-State's going to have to keep an eye on. He's one of Donovan Smith's favorite targets. Let's flip the ball over and talk about this K-State offense a little bit. Right. Okay, I'll just throw you some stats, Monty, and you tell me who you would start at quarterback if they named Monte Spiller offensive coordinator at Kansas State. Houston, 90th in a rush defense. They started in a 4-man front. They moved to a 3-man front against Texas. They've also given up at least 28 points in every single game during conference play. I look at this matchup, and for me, I see a game plan that could be repeated just like K-State did against TCU. Is that how you would do the quarterbacks, or are you thinking something different?
No, I would stick with it. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the thing about this, both quarterbacks are playing phenomenal right now. Will's a senior. He's proven. He's a winner. He's a leader. The team loves him. Let him get the start. Keep Avery close, and in situational downs, third down, a run down, or even have them both in there like before. You never know, and you have to honor both of them when they're in. And the thing about it, though, the way K-State rotated them last week, it forced TCU's defense to have different personnel ready. Because once a guy came in, he's a running threat. Then they stack the box. Sure enough, he goes over the top. Because if Avery's in, you have to stack the box. Because if you don't, he's going to gash you. But that allows the outside receivers to go one-on-one against corners. And our receivers are playing well right now. So pick your poison on that.
I look at this quarterback situation, and I think back to basketball season. And for K-State fans that are, followed that team last year, you had Marquise Noel at the point guard, and then you had Desi Sills on the bench. And when those guys replaced each other, it made defenses adjust because Marquise was more of a scorer. Maybe Desi's more of a passer and a rebounder and an energy guy. The way they play the game is different, but the dynamic when both of those guys enter the game in exchange for each other, it makes the defense adjust and it changes the offense a little bit. I think there's some of that there. And, people talk about running backs getting into a rhythm. I think DJ and Trayshawn Ward have kind of figured out, how to keep the rhythm when they're not in on every snap. I can kind of see these quarterbacks saying, all right, you know what, he's going to go in and I'm going to stay loose. I'm going to stay mentally prepared, because people talk about being locked in. It has nothing to do with the physical aspect of it. It is all the mental aspect of it. If those guys can find a way to take those mental reps and stay locked in, it could be dangerous because they will be more fresh and they just bring completely different elements.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of times people say using the two quarterback system don't work. I agree with that if you're an NFL team.
Mm-hmm.
But K-State has almost the perfect situation. You got a senior who has won a Big 12 championship, who's loved by his teammates, and he's probably done after next year. And you got the true freshman, local Kansas kid, the best player from the state with his class. And he understands I'm the future, but yet I'm getting playing time now, producing with the team that's winning, who could potentially be back in the Big 12 championship game, and him inputting, if not more. That's a great situation.
Yep.
Nobody should be upset about it. Will's still playing, starting, making plays, winning. Avery's playing, making plays, winning. We're all happy.
Yeah.
We're all happy. So it's a great situation.
It is, and I think it's going to continue to be a great situation until somebody proves that they shouldn't be on that mantle, which honestly I don't think is going to happen. Both of these guys have been rock solid. Like I said, I look for K-State to just obliterate Houston with the run game in this game. You throw in the weather, and it's going to be run city all day. Houston 90th in run defense. They're stuck between, do we run the 4-man? Do we run the 3-man? Maybe the 3-man was just a thing for Texas to try and guard all those playmakers that they have in space. If they have a light box, though, I just see K-State running it down their throat.
And I hope that's the case. Honestly, if we don't need to throw the ball a whole lot, don't. I get it. Guys want to get the numbers. You want to spread it around a little bit. But on a game like this, if you can run the ball, keep the clock moving, and we're up by a significant amount, keep doing that. I will say, Houston is a young team. They're not bad, but they're not complete in all areas. But I will say, watching a couple of their games, if you give them any type of hope, they're a confident group. And they're cocky and they chirp. I know how Houston boys are. They're confident. And like I said, Texas people, I'm case in point, they are prideful people. And I'm telling you, you get us boys some hope, watch out. So K-State needs to squash any hope that they have from jump, get on them early and often, and leave no doubt. Don't give them any hope, because if you do, kind of like the West Virginia game, they'll come back and win. Texas game, they almost came back and win. And so we don't want that to be the case. So we have to squash them, finish the deal early, and get that win. So I'm looking forward to the game.
Especially when you jump out at home.
Yeah.
There's a difference between playing Texas at home like they did and then going on the road and playing K-State. If K-State gets up in the first quarter and then they keep that lead, they don't even have to extend it. And if you are up by 2 scores, even 3, especially 3 scores, but if you're up by 2 scores at halftime, I think regardless of who gets the ball or any of that kind of business, K-State's sitting pretty. I mean, you're right. They've got to jump on them early, and I think it starts with setting the tone. Houston has not seen this kind of physicality. Texas, they threw the ball a lot, especially until Quinn Ewers got hurt, which might have been another reason why Houston was able to stay in the game. But until Ewers got hurt, they were throwing the ball. K-State's going to run it down their throat, and they're going to make them stop the run, and I don't think they're going to be able to do it. So as we move into our predictions portion of the show and wrap it up, I want to throw a wild card, because there's another big game in the state of Kansas that is happening at 11 o'clock, and it's not in Manhattan. It's in Lawrence. Kansas plays Oklahoma. They host them for Big Noon Kickoff. Just give me your thoughts on that game.
Well, me being a K-Stater, I have no love for KU, and I never will. And then Brent Venables being one of my old coaches at K-State, a K-State guy, a Solana guy, and Brent and I are good friends, and I care for the guy dearly. He's a great coach, and I'm glad he's having success, unless K-State's playing him. But I'm thinking OU is going to go there. KU's offense scares me. I'm sorry, they still do. Without Daniels in there, their schemes are incredible. I'm not sure who is in charge of all their schemes, but they do a really good job with their schemes. Their defense, not so much. Their defense tends to give up a lot of runs, a lot of points. So I think OU wins by 14, but KU is going to keep it close early until late into the third quarter. But I think OU pulls away based off of KU's defense not being able to stop them.
Yeah, I'm frustrated that game's at 11 o'clock. I wanted to watch that one too. Let's talk about our game, and I'll ask you for your prediction. In this one, give me your MVP and the final score.
Man, so MVP is kind of tough this week. I went with DJ the last 2 weeks, and he has the potential to do it again. But I can see – I'm going to go with Will. Will Howard MVP, because he didn't play a whole game last week because he didn't need to. But I want to see him get a little more touches later in the game, just because I don't want the game to be close. But I'm going to say Will MVP, and I'm going to go 45-17.
45-17, and you said Will Howard as MVP.
Yep.
I am going to be along the same lines as that with your score. I'll say that here in a second. But for my MVP, I'm going over to the defensive side. Okay. We feel like Houston's going to throw the ball a lot. I'm looking at that secondary, and specifically I'm looking at the senior leader in Kobe Savage. He got 2 picks against Texas Tech. Mark him down for 2 picks against Houston and Donovan Smith. K-State and Kobe Savage will win this game on the defensive side of the football. The final score, you said 45-17. I'm right along those same lines, too. I think K-State gets it done. I do think this might be somewhat of a close game in the beginning portion, but then K-State will kind of take off, much like we saw against Texas Tech. I'll take a 42-14 final. I think that seems to be the consensus. The spread was 17. You and I both agree K-State will win and they will cover. Either way, it's going to be a great morning of football at Bill Snyder Family Stadium. If you're going to the game, bring your ponchos.
Yes.
It might rain, so be prepared for that. If not, enjoy the game wherever you are, and we'll talk to you next Friday.
Sunday, the AFC Championship, presented by Intuit TurboTax, is on CBS. The defending champion Kansas City Chiefs go on the road once again to face top seed Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, with a trip to Super Bowl 58 on the line.
That's a touchdown!
We'll get you set for kickoff at 1 Eastern with a special 2-hour edition of the NFL Today, the AFC Championship, Sunday on CBS and streaming on Paramount+.
The drama.
They're having to be separated. They've both been shown the red card.
The entertainment. The superstars.
Oh, yes. What a goal.
Welcome to the Planet Premier League podcast. I'm Mark Chapman, and every week, Cesc Fabregas, Nader Manua, and myself talk all things Premier League.
They have this dynamism and this quality that they can play anywhere. They need to prove themselves in scoring more and more goals.
I think if they don't win the title this year, the season is a failure in the league.
Planet Premier League. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.